Hello, 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 Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City. Welcome to KUAW, Kansas City's global community radio station. KUAW stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. And you are tuned in to the Jessica Lynn Speaks Life. And we are sitting at the table of purpose with Miss Jay Gray, who's running for the Kansas City, Missouri School District, and with Miss Erica Miller, who is running for Lee Summit, Missouri School District. Let's give yourselves a little hand clap. Woo woo. We are so excited to have you here today. I'm excited just to see you beautiful Black women running for office to support our children. Wow. Wow. We need more of this. We need more people to run. We need more people to run. So what I hope that you get from today is that you will step into your purpose. Just step right on out there. And we're going to jump right in. We're starting a little bit late, so we're going to jump in, and nobody can introduce these two powerhouses better than themselves. Their bios are amazing. They have done some amazing things. And so I'm just going to start with Miss Jay Gray. I just want you to tell us a little bit about you, and I'll ask you the questions because I know there's a lot to share about yourself, right? So you are from Kansas City, Missouri, and let's talk about your education in the Kansas City, Missouri School District and up through college. Let's talk about that.
All right. So, yes, I'm born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm fourth generation KCPS attendee, so I have definitely been in multiple KCPS schools. I started my education actually at Harold Holliday. And so probably almost halfway or a little over halfway through elementary school, I actually went to the Hickman district. So I spent a little time there. And transitioned back to Kansas City public schools in sixth grade. So I actually have got to attend at the time, I went to Martin Luther King Middle. I don't know if, you guys or any of the listeners remember Martin Luther King Middle, but it was basically kind of like an alternative school for middle school students. It was an experience, and I went straight from there to Lincoln. So it was the biggest
transition. Wow.
The biggest transition. And that's when I first started realizing that, things aren't really equitable. Like the way that they spoke to us in Lincoln and how they poured into us and talked, they made sure we knew you're going to be successful. You're smart. You need to take these classes so you can figure out what classes you're taking in high school. I'm like, I don't even remember a teacher's name from King. I don't really remember learning anything. So it was a big difference, very big, and it was a culture shock a little bit because before King I went to Irvin, so it was just like, what is this? And even from there, I was at what I thought couldn't get better. This is the best school in the state at that point. And my mom, with us being fourth generation KCPS, my mom did not have a lot of faith in the district, unfortunately. We were not one of the district success stories. So she felt that in order for me to be successful and have opportunities, she took me out of Lincoln and put me into University Academy. So I know it came with a lot of different, decisions for her, but I think the first one primarily was the fact that, she didn't graduate high school. Her siblings didn't. Her mom didn't. So and they were all in KCPS. So she's like, oh, I got to get you out of here. I'm her only daughter, so I can't let that happen to you. And, even as a high schooler, I'm like, why? Why do certain students at certain schools get opportunities that others don't? Because even when I went to UA, I'm like, it was still different from Lincoln, and that is saying something. And so it really kind of inspired me to work in education. So when I got to UA, probably that next year, I actually started working and volunteering in education, because one thing that they instilled in me in Lincoln was I was smart. I'm like, well, if I'm smart, let me help other people be smart, right?
Right, that's good.
And so that was what really kind of initially got me into education. When I went to college, so I was one of those students, I did everything I was supposed to do. I didn't know anybody with degrees outside of my teachers. So I didn't have anybody I could go to. What am I supposed to do? How do I get there? How do I use these experiences to go to a good college or get scholarships? And so I kind of felt a lot alone in the process, and I wound up going to UMKC. I came in as a senior, I'm going out of state. So the fact that I went to UMKC was
Let's pause right there.
Sorry.
No, sorry. I came in as a senior, I was going out of state. Let that sink in. That's what we want our city students that are going to UMKC and Park and Avila and Rockhurst. You have to act as if you are going out of state. So did you stay on campus?
I did.
Okay.
So initially I did not. So my first semester I did not, and I did very well that semester. And then I did, and I did not do very well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that transition, I wasn't prepared. I went to UA. I was academically very prepared to be in college, but outside of that, I was not prepared at all. I lived in the hood my whole life. So coming from that, having these experiences, and then kind of getting thrown into this completely different environment.
Even though it was in the city.
Yeah, even
so
though it
you
was in
can
the city.
imagine how much of a transition it is when you do go out of state. I went out of state.
Exactly.
So I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
I've not heard anyone share this experience that lived in the city and went to UMKC say that it was a big transition. So I appreciate you sharing this.
Yes, it was. And I think that, sometimes the students, the minorities at UMKC are honestly the ones that you really have to pour into to help motivate, because especially those of us who come from city schools. My school was 98% black. Like at UMKC, I was a history major. Majority of UMKC is pre-med education, like some of them are education, but it's primarily like pre-med health sciences. That's what they are. I was the only black person in most of my classes.
So that was a big transition.
Very big, very big. And then I wound up meeting one of my friends my senior year. It was his first year, and he was black. That's how we go. Like, hold on, you history. You major in history? Like, it was so different, right? And I think that one thing I've learned I think no matter what school you go to is you have to find community and help support each other. And so, I think being in UMKC, initially, we're so in the community because that's what we're used to. And so I had to learn how to cut back on that a little bit and figure out what community organizations I want to be in, but how to stay out of the city.
To
we
be
can't,
out of state.
Right. I have to act like, some of my friends they not in school. They're not doing the stuff that I'm doing. So
right.
we have all of these distractions around us because we didn't leave. And so it makes it to where a lot of minority students who go to UMKC actually don't graduate. A lot of my friends wound up, not making it to graduation because of all these different
the land
distractions.
of the familiar.
Exactly. And I think that that's things that people don't think of when they're deciding to stay in state. And I work primarily with students who are applying to colleges. So that's one of the main things when I talk to students who want to stay in their city or want to stay in their state. I make sure that they're aware of, if you have friends and family who are doing some things that they're not supposed to be doing right now, that's not going to stop. And so how do you make sure that you stay on your track? Right? You can try to influence them, but you can't change everybody's life. So how do you make sure that you are still successful? So with UMKC, I finished my degree. I actually have a degree in history. And so with my research, I did my research on the effects of de facto segregation on the Kansas City Public School District. So again, education has always been very important to me. And once I started working in KCPS, I'm like, well, how did we get here? What happened and how did we get to this point? And so I just kind of went through and did a full research of it from before we were integrated till at that point in 2015 where we still did not have accreditation. And so what happened and how did we get here? So with that, after I graduated, went and worked in a few schools, primarily Central, to work on that college access piece. So I found that what I was missing, other students were missing. Kansas City's access rate to college is getting higher, but that retention rate is horrible. We're sending them there, but they are flunking out. So what do we need to do differently in the schools?
To prepare them.
Exactly. And so I kind of worked at Central, specifically, they offered me East and they asked me if I wanted to switch. I would love to switch. I feel like people have
East,
this.
that's
yes,
my own
listen,
battle.
I have nothing wrong with East, okay? But I've worked at East before. I worked at East. I worked at at Southeast. And so when they gave me the opportunity to work at Central, I'm like, as a college, absolutely, because I think most people have this negative perception. And especially even when I took the job, I had people who I used to work with, friends, family. Why are you going? You're going to work as a college advisor at Central, and I'm like, that's the problem. That's part of the issue is that the community needs to believe in these students.
That's where the students need you.
Exactly.
They need you at Central.
Exactly.
They need you. The students in schools that are not low with test scores don't necessarily need that extra push. They're automatically applying to go to school, and but Central students, and so this is a great segue to the Giving Hope and Help Education is Your Passport Scholarship Program. So we want to help the students, you said it already, attend and graduate.
Yes.
Not stop at attend, right?
Yes.
And so with the Education is Your Passport Scholarship, we're calling all high school seniors in Lee Summit, in Cass County, in Jackson County, in Wyandotte County, in Johnson County. Believe it or not, there are underserved students in Johnson County, and we have serviced them with scholarships. And so students at Central, I'm thinking of one in particular that received our scholarship at Central. That they're doing amazing work, and they're underserved, and I just think they're not so much underserved. I think they're unsung.
Yes, and undersupported.
Undersung. And so, yes, thank you for bringing that point up. As a graduate of East High School, they have the largest enrollment in the Kansas City, Missouri public school district. That was the four of the best years of my life. Now, I graduated a few years ago. Don't want to date myself, but graduated a few years ago, and those were the four. I had great teachers that poured into me, that inspired me to go to a HBCU, that inspired me to apply for scholarships. Tell me, and you can chime in on this too, Erica, tell me what, if you know about, or what your experience about knowing high school counselors pulling these students. So when I was a senior, they pulled me out of class. Jessica, come and apply for this scholarship. Jessica, come and apply for this scholarship. That was my experience as a high school student at East High. I don't know if that is the experience of the students today. Can you speak to the high school counselors pulling students in to apply for scholarships?
Go ahead.
So the only reason, so I've never been a counselor, so I don't want to, I'm not speaking as a counselor, but as a college advisor, we worked very closely with the counselors. So I can speak from that experience. And what I will say is that when you think about counselors and how many students are in the school, they are overwhelmed, right? Like there's not enough counselors per student. And so especially when it comes to seniors, you have to remember that the counselors don't just deal with college stuff. They have all of these other classes, and then they have all of these seniors to deal with. And so what I found, what I've seen in different schools that I've kind of been in or worked in is that, the counselors try and they pull as many students as possible, but primarily what you see is the students who get pulled are the students who are showing that initiative, the ones who are reaching
You know
out
what?
to them.
That's what my husband said. He said you were showing that initiative. So there are many students that are getting left behind.
Exactly. And those are the ones I went in and found.
That's
so
good.
As a college advisor, the only ones I was going to find.
And see, when I was in school, we didn't have a college advisor. The counselor was doing everything. And I think it was 3 of them over the whole school, right? That's a lot of students to try to manage.
Yeah, imagine, especially in the time that so now it's a little easier because they have like the common application, the Black common application, so you can apply to all these schools at one time. But I know when I graduated, that wasn't the case. So I know when y'all graduated, that wasn't the case. Like I was kind of in that first couple classes of them rolling out the Common App. So we had certain schools that were on there, but a significant amount of the schools we were applying to weren't. So if you're a student, like say you have a student like me who applied to over 10 schools, you have this counselor. This counselor has to send a transcript to 10 different schools.
And that was me back then. We had 10, everything was separate. And so they're streamlining that, which is great.
Yes.
Not that this is about scholarships, but I think it's important to share because of your experience as a high school college advisor.
Yes, ma'am.
That these students, we don't want them left behind. So how does that tie into you running for school board?
So with school board, one of the main points that are priorities for me is earlier college and career access. So one of the issues that I found even as a college advisor was that I'm getting these students junior year and they don't know anything. No one has talked to them about college. No one has really talked to them about what their career looks like, how to, how important it is your schooling will be no matter which route you take and like things like that. And so they're learning this stuff junior year and they got to make the decision next year. Like that's not enough time for them to properly look at all of the options they have and to make sure that they are choosing the best fit. So one thing that is very important to me as a college advisor, when I'm working with my students, we are looking for your best fit school. Where will you go and be able to succeed? If you've only gone on a tour to UMKC, you don't know what you like in a school because you've only seen this one school. Like, you have to at least see 3 different schools.
Sure.
And then you have to be able to, okay, well, this one had this and I really like this. So if I want a school, I'm going to go to one that has this, right? Like, it helps you start narrowing those options down and figuring out where you would be happiest. And that is a big piece of retention, is making sure that you find somewhere that you are happy. And even on the flip side, when it comes to career, a lot of those students don't get that opportunity until junior year. KCPS has a VOTEC program.
Is that manual?
Yes. So, and what happens is, the students, they do halftime at their schools and then they go to VOTEC. So there's an AM, PM, so whether they do it in the morning or afternoon. But a lot of students don't get to do it. What I found, especially working at Central, a lot of our best VOTEC eligible, like a lot of the students who needed this VOTEC opportunity, who you're probably going to be better in these trades. You tell me, like, you like working with your hands, you like these, like, you should do VOTEC. You don't get to apply until the end of your sophomore year. They've already messed up. Like, they haven't made, their grades aren't where they need to be. They might be missing credits. Like, they've gotten to this point where now they're not eligible to do VOTEC. And so for the next 2 years, they still are in the schools when they could be, under somebody's car at the automotive program or doing all these things, but they no longer have that opportunity. And that's not just for VOTEC, even for early college academy. You don't go until your junior year. And so if it's not something that you are thinking to aspire towards your freshman year, by the time it comes to junior year and you're trying to apply, you don't meet the requirements.
Too late because you've already ruined your GPA.
Exactly. So we have to start all of these conversations earlier. We have to start telling them how important, it is to do well in high school. These conversations need to start 8th grade. We need to start making sure, probably before that, allow them the opportunity to explore all types of different careers. There's careers that you don't need a trade or a college degree for. Like, I gave an example on the last interview I did. Like, I have one of my mentees. She came to me because she really didn't know if she should quit her job and take this new opportunity. And she's like, well, it's a banking job. And I'm like, great, but take that. Like, that is a career. Like, you can go into banking and move up and do all these things without a degree. Like,
And then they'll pay for you to get a degree.
And that's
with the
exactly what I
education
told her.
Program, yeah.
Exactly. And she took the job, and then she came back to me and was like, oh, look, if they reimbursed me, I only got to be here for a year. Like, and she's so excited about this new career opportunity that she didn't even think about. Like, she didn't even think, like, people are actually in banking and finance without having to go get all of these extra degrees before they start. And so we have to showcase to them all of their options. I think that that's something that is high. Like, you have more opportunities in areas outside of inner cities, not because, like, our students aren't good enough to do those jobs, because we don't know about them. Like, if you've never seen anybody who got paid to be a referee for the NFL, how are you supposed to know, like, that you can do that? How do I even get there? Like, even if the student can see that on the TV and be like, I want to do that. But we know nobody who did it. So how do we tell them how to get to that? So we have to make sure that we are bringing all of these different opportunities in front of them at an early age so that they can begin to aspire to these things earlier than what they do.
Well, that's a great segue for me to talk about early. And wow, you're amazing.
Thank you.
You have a lot going on. Yeah. You have a lot of experience and a lot to bring to the table. Whichever way it turns out on Tuesday, I know that you will continue your work in education and be an advocate for our students. And so, wow, you've been through this district, and now you're supporting the students in the district with trying to represent them and be a voice for them. And I think that's amazing. We ended with you with about the early childhood. So that made me ding, ding, ding to you, Miss Erica Miller, who is running for a school board at Lee Summit School District, Lee Summit, Missouri. And so one of your slogan is I know each and every child. As a grandparent with a son with autism, I think it's important for us not to leave children behind. And you talked about getting them in 8th grade, and I'm thinking P3, we need to get them in P3, get them to talking about what they want to be, and noticing what their gifts are at P3. What are some of their strengths, and let's put them in that lane. Miss Erica, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your I Know Each and Every Child, and just, wow, how did you get here?
Okay. Well, yes, my name is Erica Miller, and I am so excited to be here with you both today. So thank you for having me, Jessica.
You're welcome.
And yes, this race has been, this campaign has been amazing. I've learned so much about myself and about my community, even more than I had before I started. So I decided to run for school board because I do deserve that. I do believe that each and every child deserves a chance to be healthy, happy, and have the resources they need to be successful.
Yes.
And so my journey really started, I grew up in Shawnee, Kansas, and graduated from Northwest High School, went on to K-State, and got a bachelor's in Family Studies and Human Services. And I came back and worked in the in community education for a couple of years before I decided, I want to go ahead and get my master's. So I went back and got my master's in Family Studies and Human Services. And with that, I'm a licensed family therapist and a registered play therapist. So I've been working with children and families in our community for over 15 years, just helping them navigate all kinds of challenging situations. And so as a mother of 3 children, 15, 10, and 5, who are all in the Lee Summit School District, I have found that it's so important for me to be a voice and an advocate for my child. And I've been fortunate to be able to be in the classroom with them, volunteering on a regular basis, working side by side with the teachers, making sure that I am seeing pretty regularly what's happening in the classroom. And that led me to really be able to see and detect dyslexia in my middle daughter at the very young age of 5 in kindergarten, because I was in the classroom regularly. And the teacher even wanted to kind of dispute with me about, like, hey, wait, that's probably developmentally appropriate. And I'm thinking,
You know your child.
well, yes, there are some things that are developmentally appropriate with what we're seeing. And this is not, there's a disconnect here. So for me, I went on this journey of fighting for my child to make sure that she had the services that she needed to be successful. And when I tell you there were tears during homework most every night, and there was frustration and angst from a parent who just wanted her kid to be successful but had no idea where to go, who to talk to, where to turn, I didn't know what to do. But I just kept fighting. I kept talking. I kept having the conversations. If one person wouldn't talk to me or I didn't get the answers, I'd go to the next person and the next person. And then fortunately, we were in a position to pay for outside services for our kiddo. So we paid for tutoring services. I got her on a waiting list at Children's Mercy, which was like 9 months long, which is crazy because if you have children, you don't want to wait not one day.
Right. 9 months.
Immediate.
That's
9
a whole
months.
school.
That's
That's a whole school year.
That's a whole right.
And it's great.
And just think, there was early detection that happened because I was a parent who was paying
Involved,
attention.
yes.
But most
man,
kids
so
don't
many
get
kids left
diagnosed.
behind. Yes. Wow.
They don't get diagnosed until well into 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th,
Even
some
high
high
school.
school.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did y'all know
graduate,
that
you don't even
teachers
know.
cannot suggest it?
Yep.
They cannot suggest you be tested. I had
They
a student,
can't.
I'm like, no, like we need to test. Like this is why he has these behavior issues. Like we need to test him. And I could not I couldn't tell his parent like that, hey, because the parent has to request it. You can't tell the parent to request it. Like, and how do we fix that system?
Yeah.
Because what if the
Wow.
parents like that aren't like you, they miss it and they
Right.
don't know.
Or they're
and their
working 3
students don't-
jobs,
I was
or
gonna
they're
say, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know, right? I was in the classroom. That's one of the reasons I was able, I was working full time, but I was able to be in the classroom. But you're right. I mean, teachers aren't able to really, they're not able to say those words. They're not able to diagnose, which we don't want you to be able, we don't want you to diagnose. That's
But
not
you
your
can suggest.
expertise.
Right.
But suggest or provide resources or provide other. So it was like a hand-in-hand operation for me and my family. And thankfully, we were able to get those services on board. And I don't know if you all know this, but it's a pretty interesting statistic. 80 to 90% of students that are diagnosed with learning disabilities are dyslexic.
Wow.
So that's a
Wow,
pretty high
that's a
number.
So even if it's a
high
different
number.
learning disability,
Yep.
primarily there. Wow.
So Yes. So, and usually with
Wow.
dyslexia, it travels with other things. So my daughter actually is dyslexic. She has dyscalculia and she's dysgraphic. So she has all three.
Means math and English.
And they
is-
usually, they usually travel together, but a lot of people don't know that. And again, you have kiddos getting diagnosed not till third, fourth, and just think of how much you've missed, how much you've missed, and not just academically, but socially, because that makes
And
that
our
has an
confidence.
impact on your
Yeah.
confidence,
Yeah.
on your sense of belonging, on your ability to fit in with others. Because if you can't
Ability to thrive,
transcribe what's happening on the board because you can't keep up because your brain is transposing the letters and numbers, it's like, how are you supposed to take notes? How are you supposed to, So the beautiful thing is we have a lot of amazing services, but it's about tapping into them. And so for me, one of the things that I really want to be able to do as a school board member is to streamline those services for our families. Because it's not that we don't have in the Lee Summit School District, we have amazing services. We have amazing reading specialists and special education teachers. But unless you know
Yes.
how to advocate for your kid and you know who to ask and what to ask for, guess what? Your kid's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years behind. So that's my big thing. I'm really passionate about making sure that families don't have to go through that what we went through. I've had families come up to me and call me and have me help them navigate our special education services. So I really want to be able to streamline those services for other families. I spoke about being a licensed family therapist. That's on my radar really heavily, knowing that the second leading cause of death amongst our young people is suicide. Why aren't we talking about that?
Especially now in
And
this
the
time of
learning
social media.
disability is there's a correlation with that.
There's certainly a correlation.
Yes, especially like you said, that social aspect,
Yeah,
like that,
the
all
sense of
those
belonging.
that plays a large part.
Yep.
So I have so specifically about special education, I have a question for you. So one thing I've noticed, especially working in high schools, is the stigma around special education, having an IEP, things like that. How can we help alleviate, because I know high school students, there are students who at that point they I'm pretty sure I have something, but they're I'm not going to that class,
embarrassed.
because then other people are going to know I have an IEP, and so how do we what kind of things can school boards do to try to implement to try to end that stigma around those types of classes?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think, and let me tell you, I see that already with she's 5th grade now. And so she's like, I don't want to be pulled out of the classroom. I don't want to be, one of the things, and I don't know what other school districts offer, but I know in Lee Summit, one of the cool things that we offer, other than our tiered learning programs, once they get to middle school, because we just had our middle school transition meeting, once we get to middle school, they have a philosophy where and I'm not going to be able to tell you the name of it, but it's learn in instead of learn out.
So they come into the classroom?
So they have, the classrooms are set up with the main teacher and then a special education teacher that's in the classroom and helps to kind of monitor the whole class, support the main teacher. And that way, there's not this being pulled out. There's not this feeling like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Everybody knows that I'm different, that I'm have to leave the classroom. No, it's this teacher is there to support the other teacher and to support the whole class. And so they have it set up when your student enrolls to be able to put them in classes that have those two teachers. Now, depending on what the learning challenge is, will determine how many of those classes. So some of my kiddos, since she hasn't, even though has dyscalculia, she hasn't been formally diagnosed. So they're not going to put her in a classroom that has a math specialist in it. But for her ELA classes, she'll definitely be put in a class with two teachers in it. So that's how,
even with you advocating, you can't get her in the math one too?
well, okay, so that's the other thing. And I don't know how it is in your district, but the challenge that I've had and that I've faced from the beginning is that a lot of students who have learning disabilities and learning challenges are very intelligent.
Oh, yes.
They have high IQs. Okay? So the challenge with that is most of them on their test scores are scoring above the levels to which you would qualify for services. So for her, that's exactly what's happening. Even though there's tears during homework, during math homework. Now she loves reading, which is great, right? That's a win. But the math is tears during homework. So even with the advocating, and believe me, at every single meeting I sit down with my team, which again, we have a team, which is beautiful. The team that we've built with the special education person and her teacher and the reading specialist, all the people. At our last transition meeting, I'm like, I'm going to ask this. What about math? Right. What about the help in math? Well, her test scores show that she's just so. Wow. But the thing is, and that's the thing, I want to make sure that parents know that just because they say no doesn't mean you stop asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You keep asking, and you keep
figure
asking.
Out ways to
right
to help.
You figure out ways to help. You figure out other resources. There's tutors. There's you can go to we have Longview Community College. There's lots of students that go there. We can tap into those resources. You can tap into older students. Thankfully, my 15-year-old is like, she loves math and she is really good at math. So I have
her teaching her.
Right, please.
Yeah, I've employed her to teach my daughter, her sister. That's her tutor.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And that's
right
good for leadership for my older daughter. That's good for collaboration for the two of them. And that's good for bonding. So it really works out well.
It's also going to teach that oldest one patience. I know.
I know. She may be a teacher.
She
you
was
never
sitting
know.
there like.
Well, and it's so funny. My middle kiddo, she wants to be a teacher. So that's kind of fun too.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Charlie, she's my dyslexic kiddo.
Does she
and
want
she
to be
wants
a
to
teacher for kids who are dyslexic, has she said? Or
I don't know that she hasn't specified. She just knows she wants to be a teacher, and that's been a passion of hers. And so I'm excited. And we have a Grow Your Own program is what it's called, but we have STA, Summit Technology Academy, which helps to provide opportunities for all different learning tracks and all different career tracks that students can start in very early on. So we actually went for a visit as a part of my campaign. I'm sure you've been doing lots of things. And so one of the things that we did was we went to STA to just take a visit and look around, and she went with me. And we decided to go into the teaching program because that's where she really wants. I'm like, let's go and just learn about it. I'm just blown away.
Oh, yeah.
So
I want to visit.
I know you should come, and I will take you for a tour. Yes. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. So I could keep talking. You tell me. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to just chime in about. So I'm a product of the Kansas City, Missouri School District, but my children are a product of Lee Summit School District, private and public. They both graduated from Lee Summit West, and I can identify with advocating for your child. And so my son had an IEP 504 because of migraines, so he would miss anywhere from 5 to 20 days a school year. Really about 20 or more days a school year that he would miss because of the migraines. And so we had to advocate for him. So it doesn't matter what school district you're in, you have to advocate. But they did have a lot of resources, and he was selected to go to Summit Technology, and it was the first year that they opened. And so he was able to do that. But my whole point was advocating, having those meetings with all of the people sitting there about an hour to 2 hours, and going through and saying, okay, what are we going to do here? And these are the goals that your child needs to reach. And if they're not reaching them, and this is key, parent, teachers, administrators, it's a team. Please,
Absolutely.
Listeners, don't think that it's the school and the school board people that you elect that's going to make the most impact on your students. The people that's going to make the most impact is the parents. The teachers and the school and the administration is literally to partner with the parent.
100%.
100%.
And you have to be able to support those teachers. That's one of the things I do. Every time my kiddo gets a new teacher at the beginning of the year, I'm walking in that classroom. The first thing I do after introducing myself is saying, how can I support you?
Yes.
Because they need our support.
Yes.
They're with our kids more than we're with our kids.
Yes.
They need our support. So I'm the first one volunteering to be room parent. I'm room parent for both of my kids this year, and room parent. I mean, they just need our support.
Yes.
And for some parents, like you had mentioned earlier, they're not able to be the room parent. And so I was able to be that mom that went on the field trips. I was able to be that mom that bought the cupcakes and the snacks to the school and for the team and all of that. But I understand and acknowledge that every mom can't do that because they may not have that flexibility with their work.
Right.
In real transparent talk, some moms don't care, and they're worried about themselves. And so we have that dilemma as well. And I've seen
it can
that
work against you, like,
Yeah.
because especially as teachers, especially at, like, I think the ones who just kind of don't have the time, I think that's a little different. Like, and I think as teachers, most teachers try to still figure out, okay, how to communicate. And I think that's where you kind of figure out at the beginning of the school year, what's the best way to communicate with you about your child? Like, what do you prefer? Because I can email you and you don't check your emails.
Well,
So
see, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't want to say they don't care, so I recant that.
no,
But
there are some
there
that
are
don't
some
care.
that
It's-
it's
and
hard.
that's why I was
It's
about
hard
to-
to say.
Yes, and
it's
those-
hard to say.
It's
And
hard to
so
believe.
It's,
Yes,
yeah,
it
it's
is,
very
until you
hard.
see it.
But I think that comes from two very young people having babies at a young age. So there's a lot of socio demographics and all of that goes with parents that may not be involved, and it could be generational patterns, lots of things. Your mom didn't graduate college, but she wanted more for you. She wanted her children to be educated. So you may have moms that I didn't graduate, so she don't need to graduate. So it just depends on how it goes.
I
And
had
so-
one of those.
You
I
have
had one of those parents. I had a student who he was a senior when I got there. When I worked at Central, he was already a senior. And at first couple times I pulled him, he's like, I'm not going to college. I go to Central. Like, I'm like, what are you talking
wow.
about? Like, and
No,
I just
we have to
seen
change that.
Yes, and I seen so much potential in him. I'm like, you are such a leader. Like, you would do so well. And like based on he didn't know what he wanted to do. I'm like, we need to start talking about this. What does this look like for you? And I specifically remember I took him. So my first college tour I took any of my students to was to Lincoln University. So I was not really exposed to HBCUs growing up, and I think that was a detriment to me. Because
you would have been so awesome.
like, I got
And
to
you
see,
would have too.
Like,
Oh my god!
and I got to see
I
some of my
wish.
friends like Kayla. She went and
My
thrived,
niece,
right?
yes.
Like, and
She went to the wrong school, but we still have we still have this big thing. So Kayla, if you're listening, SU, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For those who don't know, home of the human jukebox. We have totally gotten off from the school board talk. Okay, it's about HBCUs at this one moment. No.
right, just right now. But I got to watch her experience, and it was something that I knew, like, I'm pushing if I have the opportunity, I'm pushing this. And my brother, he's a senior now. He came to me, he's like, I need you to go talk to the school and tell them I'm not applying to anything outside of HBCU.
Wow.
And I was like, I got you. Like,
Is he applying for Southern? I hope he's applying for Southern.
I think he's
I will
already
help him.
he already selected his school, so he did select. He just committed to Harris Stowe this week.
Wonderful.
So he is going. He's going to be on the track team. So he is very excited about that. But the fact that he didn't even want to look at anything else, it was different.
Yeah.
And I think for the student that I took to Lincoln, he went, and when he fell in love, he's like,
Yes.
this is
The
college.
student who said he wasn't going to go, he went.
He went.
See, but
and he
wow.
that is a
fell in love.
testament.
That's
That's a
testimony
testament.
of you believing in
It's
him.
a testament that it matters. It
Yes.
matters to have people that believe in you. It matters to have your village. It matters to have people that can tell you, yes,
can
you
do it.
can do this.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that. Yes, I
Yes.
love that.
So
Right.
he went.
That's
is
so
it graduated
beautiful.
yet? Or?
No.
Okay.
So, and I know, it's family. Being in Kansas City, I remember when I first met his mom, I was so excited, because he had applied and he had got in, and I don't think he had told them. And so, I asked him, can I talk to your mom at the parent-teacher conference? He's like, good luck. And I was just
no.
okay. But when I went up to her, I was like, I'm so happy for him and blah, blah. And she's like, I didn't go to college, so what does he need to go to college for? And I was just like, well, he's amazing. So, I just, made sure that I spoke him up and while he's standing there so that
Love
he can
it. I
understand.
love that.
But it was it really is about the support pouring into these students, because some of them don't have that. And it's not that some parents do care, but they just don't know how.
They don't
Like,
know how.
They don't know how.
my mom, she was very big on college, push, but she didn't know, she couldn't tell me anything about
She
how to
just
pay
knew
for
she
it. how to-
wanted better for you.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly. And that was it. And so, I think that it really is about when you have that additional support and you know, I can be anything that I want to be.
Yep.
And I
Ooh,
think that's
that's
one of
good.
the main things I tell my students, success, I want you to be successful. what that looks like is going
It's
to be
up to
dependent.
you.
So it's
On
going
you.
it's
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be. What is your success?
Oh,
You
my
tell me,
goodness.
and I'm going to
Yeah.
help you figure that out.
Right.
Because it's about each individual. We cannot do any, like, we can't provide everybody the same type of coaching and the same advice and the same.
Right.
Even when it comes to classrooms, when I taught, I don't like, I'm teaching this lesson the same, but when I'm going and giving individual instruction, I might
Yeah.
be talking to you differently or helping
Yep.
you figure it out differently, because people learn differently
That's
and
right.
they use their experiences differently.
So good. That's so good. Ooh, I'm
that's
getting all
a
the
great-
feels. I'm getting, I'm getting all the
that's
feels.
that's a great
So
way,
good.
a segue for children learn differently.
Yeah.
That's right into your platform.
Yeah, they
with
do.
with the special services and special education services. Your daughter, one thing that when both of you were speaking that came to my mind was for everything that we have suffered, or suffering, survived, or surviving, there is purpose.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%.
For everything with you and with your daughter. I cannot wait to see what she becomes.
I'm so excited.
Gonna be a great
And
teacher.
it does. It will go fast because, as my children are good and grown now, and it seems like yesterday they were in school. I mean, it's just fast.
Yeah.
And so this little window, this moment that we have to pour into them and to advocate for them and to be a voice for them on the school board, it matters. You must go vote
Yes.
on April the 4th. Go vote on April the 4th. Let your voice be heard. Help Erica. Help Jay Gray. Help all of those that are running for office to make a difference. To make a difference. You can't complain about it if you don't cast that vote.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I think it's so important. And I am honored to be at the table of Purpose, Passion, and Power with both of you. One of the things that I ask all of my guests, this show used to be called Purpose, Passion, and Power with Jessica Lynn and Michelle Latrice, and then it went just to Purpose, Passion, and Power with Jessica Lynn, and now it's Jessica Lynn Speaks Life at the table of Purpose, Passion, and Power. So you're at the table of Purpose, Passion, and Power, and you are powerful women. And so what I would ask, Miss Erica, is what is your passion that is directly connected to your purpose, that is equaling to your power?
Yeah, I think for me, I know that I was put on this earth to serve others. And so that drives my passion for all that I do. That drove my passion to, I'm an advocate in my community. Since I walked in my community 11 years ago, I found ways to give back, to support my community, to lift up my community. And so when I think about this position, this opportunity, I think of it as an extension of that supporting my community, that lifting up my community, and that serving my community and being able to make an impact on a broader scale. So that's why I'm sitting at the table, because I do believe that we all have the opportunity to make a difference. It's just, will we take that opportunity, and making sure that we're leaning into what we want to create in this world. Always taking that opportunity with our conversations, with our connections. What do we want to build? Let's lean into that. So
That's amazing.
Yes.
And thank you for your service, for all of the different nonprofits that you serve with Giving Hope and Help and so many others. And we appreciate you. Sit on the board of Hope Haven for domestic violence, and that rings my bell. And so thank you for your service, for what you're doing. Wow.
thank you for having me. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That's what we call
Yeah.
walking into your destiny.
Yeah. And when it's aligned, you just know when you're aligned in your purpose, when you're living your purpose, everything just falls into place. It truly does. And that doesn't mean that it's without discomfort, right? Because sometimes leaning into that discomfort is also a very powerful thing. Because whatever's on the other side of that comfort zone is magic.
Oh,
It's power.
you
It's
made
beauty.
it. Yes.
So
Gotta
leaning
get
into those things.
uncomfortable
Perseverance.
to
Yep.
get comfortable.
That's
Ooh,
right.
that's good.
Right? Change doesn't happen until it's too painful to stay the same.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that is good. I like that. Say that again.
change doesn't happen until it's too painful to stay the same.
Oh, I love
So
that.
leaning into that
Lean in.
That pain.
whenever it's uncomfortable, lean in more.
Lean in. I love that. All right, Miss Jay Gray, what is your passion that is directly connected to your purpose? And you put it together, and it's powerful.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the purpose because I feel like my purpose is the more bigger umbrella that leads to the passion. So I also feel, I was put on this earth in order to help others. And so particularly to help others be successful. And as I told y'all, whatever that looks like for them. And so when it came down to finding my passion, it's like, okay, we know you can do that in so many different ways. So where can I be of the most assistance? And so my passion is education. I was able to learn at a very early age that is where I am able to make the biggest difference. So it took for me to kind of narrow my passion down. Like I had to figure out, okay, what part of education, right? Like education's so large. And so I took time to work with almost every age group. I've worked with in daycares with infants all the way to I've taught college, right? Like, so I worked with every age group to figure out where I could be of the most assistance, especially to underserved students. So my passion and my purpose came from my environment. I think that especially growing up in Kansas City, you always hear about how it's crabs in a barrel. No one wants to help anybody. There's not a lot of success showcased around us growing up because a lot of people get successful and they kind of leave the city. Like they don't come back. They don't give as much. And I see a lot of my generation trying to do a little more of that. But it does make it to where when I decided like, okay, well, I want to be different. Like I'm going to help other people get to the top because what I learned when I got my second degree, like I went to an Ivy League school, got this master's degree, came back. And where did I come back to? The hood. Like, so.
Well, you came back to give back.
I did, but it's not. But either way, because just because I have all of these things, my family does not. So when I come back to the same environments. And so I don't want to be at the top by myself. So how do I help other people get? Yes, like how do I help other people elevate? How do I help other people get to this place? And it's not just for my family. I want better for my city. Like Kansas City has so much potential, and so I feel that pouring into the youth is what I do best, and making sure that they know that they are supported, they can be whatever they want, and I know especially when it comes to college applications. One of the main things I tell my students, and that they flipped on me when it came time to apply for my master's degree, I'm always like, if you don't what happens when you apply, if you aren't expecting a yes. And you get a no, it's not really gonna hurt your feelings. Like, it's gonna hurt a little bit. Like, I might have wanted to go, but nothing changes. But if you apply and you get a yes to somewhere you were expecting a no, everything changes,
With
right?
your psyche,
so like everything.
Confidence.
So yes, and so I'm very big on just going for your dreams, no matter what that looks like. And I'm going to help you figure out what that looks like. I'm going to help you put the pieces together so we can make this plan and get to your dreams.
I love that, which is a great segue for the listeners to be empowered and be encouraged to go for whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah. Because one thing's for sure, if God says the same, you'll be here in 5 years without having tried.
Yes.
Wow. So if God says the same, I'm going to be 5 years older in 5 years. And I can sit on it or I can do something about it. Yeah. And just what if it happens?
Exactly.
What if I don't get accepted? What if you do? What if I fail? What if you don't? What if they don't vote for me?
So what if they do? Right.
That's right.
That's where. That's
right.
So here's the thing. You'll never know.
You never know. Yeah.
And so there's no failure.
Nope.
For on Tuesday, whichever way it goes, there's no failure for you.
Every failure is a lesson.
Yeah, and I've been at peace with that.
Failure.
I've been at peace with whatever the decision is.
There's no failure. Let me just tell you, there's no failure.
Yeah.
There's no losing.
No, there's no failure for me.
Because one thing is that you started something and you worked on it and you tried. That's what perseverance is. We get confused that winning is the answer. If you try to be Miss USA and you didn't win, no, you actually still won. You didn't get that title, but you won because you went for your dream. Yes. So those who fail are 100% sure to fail when they don't go for it. But when you go for it, ooh, all of the things and experiences that you have along the way that you would have not had, and all the people you were connected with, and all of the empowerment and all of the confidence and all of the things that lift you up to continue to persevere to the next thing. You may lose one race or fail one test, but then you're prepared to be even higher than what
Yes.
you started out to try to do.
Yes.
Right? So you may be the superintendent of the school board one day. You may be the superintendent of the school board. You may be a principal. I don't know what God has in store, but whatever it is that you want to do, just get started. Just get started.
That's right.
Because the hardest thing about accomplishing any one thing is getting started.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
And then after you get started, the hardest thing
It's keeping you. Gotta
is to
keep it
keep
up.
going.
Yeah, you can't. It ain't
Because
gonna do
all
it
of these
itself.
distractions and all of these darts will come, and oh, I just can't do this. This is just too much. Maybe this is a sign. That's a sign that you should keep going.
Exactly. When you're facing the most is literally the devil. You on the right. That means to me, I
You're
know I'm on the right
almost-
path.
yep.
You're on the-
When the devil
because
starts throwing
he
too much
is
my way,
so
I'm doing something
mad.
right.
I don't want her to get. I don't want her to advocate. I don't want her to be.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give her a flat tire. Maybe I should just quit. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. This is a sign that I should keep going.
gosh.
Let me tell
So
you, life
true.
ain't no crystal stair.
No.
But if you keep climbing it,
Yes.
even without the cracks in the
So
stairs, and
good.
when the stairs fall through, and you gotta get over to the next one, and you gotta stretch real hard to get to the next one with the air, the bottom is falling out, right? That's the cue that you on track.
Yep.
For
It's true.
elevation.
Almost
It's so
30.
true.
You on the track if you just keep going. And I tell every time I speak, get you 3 people in agreement. Get 3 people in agreement.
Yep.
3 people in agreement. Wow. The time has flown by.
Yes.
Yeah, it has.
You all
Wonderful
were
conversation.
amazing. This was a great organic conversation. Wow. Is there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't, that you wanted to mention that we didn't?
Are we still on air?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I just want to, yes, I have so much I want to say. I'm here to advocate for students. I'm here to advocate for families. I'm here to advocate for teachers because they need our support. And I'm also here to just advocate for us as a community to come together and work together and listen to one another. When I started on this journey, there were so many things that were coming against me, like even from people that I thought were going to support me.
Yes.
That was the toughest thing that I had to swallow during this journey, is the people that I thought were going to be for me, but were
When the bottom
naysayers.
falls out.
Were naysayers,
Keep going.
right? But God gave
Wow.
me a word pretty early on, which was Esther 4:14. Perhaps you were created for such a time as this. That was repeated back to me out of all the scripture that could have been said in church the next day when I asked God to give me direction about if I was supposed to do this.
That
If this
your
was my journey.
confirmation.
That was my confirmation. And throughout the journey, I've just been holding on to no weapon formed against me
Oh,
shall
now-
prosper. So that is what has led
Come
me
on
here.
with
And no
it.
matter
And
what
preach with it,
happens,
sis.
no matter what happens on Tuesday, I have already won because
Come
those
on.
connections, because of all those new partnerships, new friendships,
Yes.
you know, all those
Advocates.
things. I
Oh, thank
have
you.
won. I have won already, and I'm excited about whatever Tuesday's result is because I know that that was my purpose. My purpose was already fulfilled, whatever that looked like.
That's
right?
so good.
And so I'm just resting in that, knowing that I've run the race that I feel integrous about,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm excited about Tuesday.
Awesome.
It's so crazy how
got 30
similar.
seconds.
It's
30
so
seconds.
crazy how similar. Just because, like, when I started this race, like, I literally prayed about it for like a week straight. Like,
Wow.
because don't put me through this. It, like, what's the purpose? Like, I've had a lot of stuff happening last year. Hurry up. So when I like, it's oh my God, what you doing? But when I said, like, I literally have told people this whole race, whatever happens, that's in God's hands. This is not my race. I'm
Come
not running
on.
it. I'm
What's for me
the
is for
vessel,
me.
and
Being
exactly,
obedient.
if He wants me to win, He's gonna make it
That's
win.
right.
But I've also, like you said, the
You've already
connections that
won.
I've
Yes.
made.
Yes.
Like, I've been, I've had people reach out to me for jobs. I've had people, like, I've made so many connections.
Yes.
It has brought me closer to my community. I'm involved in so much more, and it's going to, like I tell people all the time, they're going to see me again, whether that's for re-election in 4 years or that's to run for another seat in 2. They're going to see me again because this is my passion. passion. This
Wow.
is something that I know God has already put in the works for me. It's
Yep.
going to be there. I know I'm going to be on the school board. The question is when, and that's up to him. So
I love it. I love it. Wow, the time has gone by so fast.
Yeah.
Wow. Woo. You guys are amazing. There's actually nothing else to say. Except go vote
To vote
on
Yes.
April the 4th. Have your high school seniors go to givinghopeandhelp.org to apply for our
Yes.
Education is Your Passport scholarships. We have amazing scholarships available, internships, a lot available, resources, right? Resources available, and we'll honor them at our 10th anniversary and scholarship awards gala on June 24th. June 24th, 10 years. So this is the work that we do. We gather and we make it happen together.
Yes.
Get you 3 friends and do something great.
Amen.
All right. We off?
Amazing.
Ooh, that was good.